Good morning. My name is Esperanza López Vázquez. I from Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Morelos, and I'm going to present you my work about social construction of volcanic risk perception from an intergenerational perspective with two colleagues that are written here. Many populations live around active volcanoes, with the uncertainty of a possible big eruption, as in the case of the population near Popocatépetl in Mexico, which began a period of activity in 1994. The Popocatépetl volcano considered a high-risk volcano. Research shows that the Popocatépetl traditionally presents intermittent activity with long periods of calm. Eruptive events of different magnitude have been recurrent since the Holocene period, with several Plinian eruptions that affected large geographic areas. Important eruptive events were documented in pre-Columbian codices where the volcano is represented as a smoking mountain, meaning Popocatépetl in Nahuatl. It is estimated that it was born in 780,000 years ago. The first volcanic formation was modified by being destroyed a part of the peak of the volcano called El Fraile. The Popocatépetl volcano, as actually looks, has about 23,000 years ago, and approximately 20 million people are settled within a radius of 70 kilometers around the volcano. A lot of villages are very close to the crater, about 50 kilometers. Exposure to volcanic phenomena has led to different studies to better understand the behavior and reasons why populations remain in these territories. One of the topics has been the risk perception, understood as an evaluation of an environment or social threat. A particularity is that human beings are capable of both creating and reducing risk. The personal risk analysis process is complex, and it is necessary to consider the intervention of different cognitive, affective, social-cultural, political, individual, and economic factors that interact in the process of interpreting a potential danger and assessing meanings to the environment. Studies related to the volcanic risk perception have observed a persistence of communities to remain in the territory despite knowing the exposure to volcanic hazards. So, this work takes up Berger and Luckman's approach to the social construction of reality, which states that objective reality needs to be internalized. Thus, each human being goes through a process of socialization. Based on Hawkins' argumented that social reality uh, undergoes transformations over time. So, um, in order to address risk perception as a social construction, symbolic interactionism is taken as a framework and transversal approach, considering that it is one of the main foundations of social psychology of social tradition. Symbolic interactionism focus on the relationship between social institutions and the behavior of individuals, taking into account factors such as culture as framework for socialization, the institutions and the groups, understanding social life as a process in constant construction and reconstruction. Intergenerational relationships are understood as those processes of social interaction that are produced or take place between two or more generations. Intergenerational transmission involves the social learning processes of culture, facilitated by the interaction of people belonging to different age groups and different social groups. So, generations are defined by the combination of behavior resulting from the interactions between age roles and social roles, as we can see in, in, this, in this picture, how the age proximity are very important to understand the generations, the connections between processes, contemporaries, and successors that may continue to see changes. Um, Within this context, the main objective of this work was to analyze the social construction of the perception of volcanic risk, considering the exchange of knowledge between different generations in order to carry out a theoretical mapping into Tela del Volcan on the basis of the symbolic interactions. Uh, this figure summarizes the contributions of Blumer, integrated with the proposal of Lopez Moreno and Alvarado, which represents the cross-sectional scheme of our study. The age roles refer here to a learning of the risk perception of a volcano, which are communicated and transferred. So we have here represented the social roles, the grandparents, grandchild, children, teachers, students, age roles, older adults, adults, youth, adolescents, that everyone had an intervention in volcanic risk perception with trajectories and continuities. A qualitative research with a symbolic interactionism approach was conducted. Focusing on symbolic interactionism, we observed the risk perception of a volcano from the symbolic attributions that community groups have built from a social ground, a learning process, with using the grounded theory. To achieve this objective, first of all, the process of construction of volcanic risk perception were described, finding several thematic axes. The intergenerational process with which the perception of volcanic risk is constructed were analyzed taking into account the continuities in the information handled and the transitions of changes in the perception of volcanic risk in the generation study. The articulation between the processes allowed us to propose the theoretical mapping. So we have here the techniques we used concerning ethnography and gradient theory, and this is the number of people uh, that participated in our research with sex and ages. In total, we have 158 people. The research took place in the municipality seat of Tetela del Volcan, state of Morelos, a semi-rural community of approximately 20,356 inhabitants in the state of Morelos, Mexico, in an area of moderate to high volcanic risk. Different sampling strategies were integrated by key information, by convenience, accessibility, by snowballing, and by criteria belonging to an institutional or community sector. The work was further carried out in a school because it is where people with different social roles interact. It was the high school of Andrés Quintanero in Popel, Tetela del Volcan. So our results shows this principal uh, this principle results that shows historical memory, responses to risk that people have, scientific technical knowledge that are transmitted with by scientifics, popular narratives that elders transmit to younger people that talks about the legends of volcano. Popocatépetl was a warrior that is having here in his arms a princess that was dead, and so their love made them want the volcano Popocatépetl and her uh, loved beloved woman, another volcano known as a sleeping woman. Some practices and beliefs that are transmitted also with rituals that are made to the volcano, sentiments toward territory that people feels because they don't want to leave the place. Here we have two um, speeches of people on all adult and adolescent. I'm going to read fastly. Our ancestors, our parents, as I say, from generations to generation, have been transmitting to us, well, not to have any fear, because there has never been any major damages here. An adolescent that says, we were with my cousins. I remember my dad telling me that if we saw ash falling, we should never look up, that it could hurt our eyes. We got in because we were very afraid that something would happen to our eyes because of the ash. So, our results. um, we found a group called Missionaries, or Missionaries of the Storm, those who are in contact with the spirit of the volcano, to whom they worship and make their petitions. Principles of the congregation is in the elders who teach their children about the gifts of the volcano. The volcano based shows gifts, and it is the temple of God and the great office of the angels who carry the requests of humans to God, also called divine face. So we found two generational groups that are identified as coexisting as contemporaries in the volcanic scenario. So we have a group before 1994 that concerns the pre-reactivation generations, with old peoples, adults, and probably young people um, connected, and the post-reactivation generations after 1994. So this is a theoretical mapping with our results that shows a group of age concerning pre-reactivation and post-reactivation generations. Concerning pre-reactivations, all adults think that they have a clarity and firmness in beliefs and practices, and they need to transmit their knowledge to younger people. Concerning adults, they have some credibility, respect from older people, and coexistence in the transmission of these knowledges. And adolescents that they have some credibility, they respect, they have their ownership, peer-to-peer transmission. This is in the pre-reactivation generation. In the post-reactivation generation, we have concerning older adults criticisms of aspects of modernity, disconformities due to religious disbeliefs, and sadness and protection of the traditions. So they need to keep up. Um, Concerning adults, we have three subgroups: people who accept traditions, people that question traditions and science, And people who accept science, they have fear and, yeah, ambivalence feelings. Concerning adolescents and young adults, they respect and partial appropriation of the beliefs of older people. They have questions, doubts. They have fear, and they want to be heard about their feelings, and so they have a higher risk perception. So this is the theoretical mapping we have concerning the volcanic risk perception with the two generations, the pre-reactivation and post-reactivation generations. We analyze the social roles that we showed on our team. With this, we have a popular beliefs concerning culture and environment, memory, territorial roots, and social identity, um, a social cognition and emotions, meanings, knowledge, and feelings about risk that are in both popular beliefs and scientific knowledge, and responses to risk because they are conscious of the risk, and they have psychological stress and coping strategies when there is an event that and they need to evacuate. So this is transmitted in an intergenerational agreement and conflicts with continuities of about their knowledge and transitions with changes uh, with scientific knowledge. So in these continuities and transitions, we found that volcano is considered as a living being. Um, breathing of is the breathing of the earth. Have an activity and periods of rest. Um, they feel an identity, benefits, and admiration. This is why it is necessary to stay there. The volcano has never harmed the people and will never harm them. That's what they think. Volcanic activities governed by divine will and as well as life of and death. But if there's an important event, they evacuate anyway. So the volcano can become dangerous, so we must be vigilant. It is necessary to be prepared to evacuate if life is threatened. Scientific knowledge must be taken into account, so they are conscious of danger. So, our conclusions. It is important to take into account the study of symbolic interactions in investigation of intergenerational processes and social changes. We could find important dimensions and processes in the perception of volcanic risk of different generations in the Tela del Volcan. We were able to verify the strengths of popular knowledge in the meanings of volcano risk that they have remained and that in spite of the time that has passed, they still continue to preserve the traditions of the people. We also know that there is a generational and intergenerational conflict that allows us to observe that adults are divided between the traditions of their ancestors and elders and the changes that young people are adopting in the face of volcanic risk. So, some strategic reflections. We must promote dialogue between the different generations in order to have a balance between traditions and modernity. This perception must be studied in an integral way, not only considering risk. The different generational groups of a population must be legitimized so that the groups understand and respect each other, allowing risk management not to go over community knowledge, and thus all stakeholders have the space for reflection and do not lose trust among them. So, thank you very much. This is my email and my colleague's email.